Hey, what's going on out there, everybody? Thanks for dropping by the channel today and checking out this Nike SB Dunk High with me. Unique position for me, being here in Japan. This sneaker's already dropped, and according to what I can see of the outside world, it's going to be dropping on November the 9th for everybody else. So I've got that unique position where I've had access to this shoe a bit more than most people have, unless you've bought it on places like StockX or somewhere else like that on resale. And it's going to be coming to most of the people who view my content in a couple of weeks' time. And so today what we're going to be doing is having a quick look at the shoe, looking at the different parts that make it up and the different sections of it, telling you a little bit about what it's like here in Japan, and then a little bit about what's going on at the channel today. So without further ado, let's get into all that as we take a close-up look at the Nike SB Dunk High Invert Celtics. This is the Tokyo Bada 23 Secret Channel. Tokyo Bada 23 Secret Channelです。毎日アップするので、毎日見てください。And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And like I said, we'll talk a bit about the channel later on in this video because it's been, all over the place a bit, but I think we've got it back on track, and that's going to come in the second half of the video. But the first half is all about this sneaker. It's always about sneakers at the Tokyo Bada 23 Secret Channel, and it's usually about upcoming sneaker releases. And this one is slap bang in the middle. It was September the 12th, I think it dropped here in Japan, and then for everybody else, November the 9th, I think is the right date for that coming. So it's about 2 months between the two drop dates. Now, even that November the 9th is a little bit questionable because it still says on most of the websites sometime in October, but today, as I'm shooting this video, is October the 31st, and I haven't seen it come yet. But that's one of the problems about being in Japan and trying to talk about worldwide sneaker things. It's hard to tell what is and isn't happening on the ground in places like the US, the UK, and mainland Europe, places where sneakers are really hot. But I can tell you about what's happened here in Tokyo, Japan, especially in relation to this shoe, because it did certainly drop here in September the 12th, and I didn't see it on sneakers. Now, maybe I didn't notice it, very unlikely, because I look at sneakers just about every single day, but I didn't see it on the sneakers app. But I do know that it dropped in certain skate shops, and specific outlets had this shoe, and I do know there was a huge price hike on places like StockX as soon as this shoe dropped here in Japan, but it very quickly dropped off, which is kind of a surprise because the dunks this year are hot. But to be honest, I think it's the dunk lows that are coming in hotter than anything else. Having said that, in a couple of days' time, I'm planning to do an SB Dunk High concepts tie-up with the Duncan, which is an interesting shoe all in itself, and that might be pretty hot for the Dunk Highs, but really it's the year of the Dunk Lows this year. They're very hot and a lot of hype. So this one, the resale already isn't looking that great, even ahead of the worldwide release, what I'm assuming is the worldwide release. I'm sure people will tell me in the comments down below if I've got that wrong and it already has dropped, but that isn't going to stop me talking about the shoe because it is absolutely unique. I've never seen a shoe like it before, and as soon as I caught a glimpse of it, I was like, man, that's a shoe I definitely want to bring to the channel and to talk to people about. So let's get into it, talk about the details on the shoe and what makes it great in certain ways and what is a bit of a drawback for me in other ways. So first things first, it's a two-tone shoe. As soon as I saw it, I thought of Two-Face from the Batman movies, and how his his face is split in two between untarnished and a scarred face, and that's most evident on the heel. I wouldn't normally jump into the heel at this point in the video. I'd kind of leave that till later in the video, but this is the one place I think that the shoe really comes alive. And what I'm talking about is that absolute perfect sort of synchronization between the left and the right, the medial getting the Celtics colors, in the green and white, and then the lateral getting those pink and black colors on there. And that's what I like to see in a shoe. I like balance. I'm not a huge fan of sort of erratic, all over the place stuff. So when I look at the back of the shoe and that sort of two-phase, two-tone thing that I'm talking about, I really feel it, and I think it's really right there. But then if we go back around, I think I've got a good shot of this from the front, and you'll get an idea of why I don't like from the front, because the balance is all gone. And that's definitely got a lot to do with how they produce the shoe and actually manufacture it, because there's no way is the wrong thing to say. It would be very difficult. It's not impossible, but it would be very difficult to split this shoe right down the center line and have the entire medial side in the Celtics colours and the entire lateral side in the pink and the black. And if you want to know what I mean by that, I'm talking about if you look at the toe box, imagine splitting that in half. You'd have to stitch it together almost like a Yeezy 350. You'd have to stitch it together right up the middle of the shoe, and it just practically wouldn't work, especially on a leather and suede shoe. I'd imagine that putting a stitch right up the middle of the toe box would actually fall apart very quickly in terms of the strain and the stress on the stitching on there. But what I would have preferred to see, instead of trying to split the shoe down the middle, medial and lateral, would be to cut the shoe in half and have the back half both medial and lateral in the greens and whites, and then the front half both medial and lateral in the pinks and blacks. So say the quarter line, take that in pink, and the overlays on the front half of the shoe in pink, and then that black toe box on there, and then everything behind the quarter line in white and green leathers. I think that would have been very cool. So so for me, that the sort of half and half doesn't quite work because of what happens at the toe box. Hopefully that's sort of visible here, but that's not to say it isn't a very nice shoe. And talking about the materials, we need to really go close in and have a look, and I think I got a good shot of I think it's the toe box that really shows us that hairy suede that's going on the pink and the black of the lateral side, which gives you a real kind of luxe feel to the shoe. But then when you go across to the medial side where the greens and the whites are, you can see it's that sort of standard smooth leather in contrast to the hairy suede. I'm not a huge fan of it when shoes have an awful lot of different materials going on, but I actually think they pull it off on this one. I think because it's not like, you know, it's not like the inlay on the toe box was suede, and then the overlays were leather, and then the quarter line was, I don't know, velvet, and then the midfoot was, golly, silk. You know, that's when I kind of get with a shoe, is when it's all sort of like patchy together like that. But with this shoe, because they've gone with blocking of suede on the lateral side and leather on the medial side, I think it kind of works, and I actually dig it. I think it's a really nice looking shoe. Now looking from above, taking a look at the toe, not the toe, the tongues on these guys, and the reason I want to look in there is not because of the tongue branding on them, but actually because of the laces. The pictures that I'm looking at mostly have pink laces in, but I do know they come with the green replacement laces as well, which will give you that alternative, especially because of that two-tone half and half feel going on these guys. And then the opposite end of the shoe is when you flip it upside down and have a look at the outsole. They've tried their best to get that kind of two-tone effect with the green panel in the middle of the outsole, surrounded by the pink outsole itself. But again, this is one of those places where I think if they cut the shoe in half, sort of horizontally instead of vertically, I'm not sure if I'm describing that right, but it might have worked better on the outsole to have, you know, a green front half and a pink back half or something along those lines. But you know, it is what it is. It's the shoe that they made. I've got a feeling it's the kind of shoe that they made it, and in concept they thought it would work, and then in production they were kind of like, you know what, that doesn't really work out for us. So you know, and in the year of the dunk lows, you know, if you're even a smidgen off on a dunk high, I think people are not really going to be pulling after it. However, having said that, these concepts turd Dunkins that are coming, I think could be very, very hot. So so enough about the shoe. Like I said, I'd get into a bit about the challenge just very briefly at the end of this video, because I did say it's been difficult times. This is going to be the first video, I hope, which I'll be back on Filmora. I think I've been back on iMovie for about a week now, maybe a week, and it started with one iMovie video on my iPad Pro, and then 6 or 7 on a computer that I borrowed, and there was a dip in quality, let's be honest, but I think I've got my Filmora back on my own computer, so this should be the first video that I edit on Filmora, and hopefully the quality brings us back. So after all that sort of turbulence of the last few weeks of the channel, I think we're back plain sailing into the winter months and coming into the Christmas sort of season, which is great because there's a ton of sneakers coming down the line. Okay, time for me to sign off. Thank you guys for checking out the content, truly appreciate it. Thank you very much for dropping by if you're a first time viewer, and if you're a repeat viewer, thank you very much as well. I know there are certainly definitely people who watch my videos all the way through, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Time for me to sign off though. Thank you guys for checking out the content, but you know what, I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.